Okay, so we're doing a deep dive today into this stack of articles about indie musicians hitting it big outside the whole traditional record label system.
Right.
We're ditching the contracts and figuring out how these artists are taking control and making their own success stories.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how much the industry's changed, even just in the past few years.
Big time. Like, remember when getting that record deal was the be-all and end-all?
Oh, yeah.
Now it seems like more and more artists are finding way more freedom and building amazing careers without them.
Totally. They have so much more control now over their music, their brand,
Okay.
their entire career.
So what's the biggest difference you're seeing in how these musicians are doing things?
They're all about that direct connection with fans,
Okay.
building those relationships and making their own rules, basically.
Yeah.
The articles are full of examples of artists using things like streaming and merch in some really clever ways.
Let's talk streaming for a sec.
Sure.
It seems like everyone and their mom is on Spotify or Apple Music these days.
Right.
How can an indie artist even stand out with so much music out there?
It's not just about uploading your tracks and hoping for the best.
Right.
You got to be smart about it.
Okay.
One article talked about a musician who got featured on a huge Spotify playlist, and their streams just exploded overnight.
Wow.
That's the power of playlists.
Yeah.
They're like curated radio stations for the digital age.
Makes sense.
You find the right playlist for your sound, you're golden.
Totally. I read about musicians using platforms like SubmitHub to get their music in front of playlist curators.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It's like a shortcut to the right ears. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially for niche genres.
Oh, yeah.
If you're making like synthwave or Mongolian throat singing or something,
Right.
finding those dedicated playlists is everything.
Makes sense.
Don't underestimate connecting with those curators directly.
So you've nailed down some killer playlists.
Okay.
What else should indie artists be thinking about on the streaming side?
Your artist profile, that's key.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like your online storefront.
Okay.
If your favorite band had blurry photos, a bio from like 2015, and no social media links,
Right.
would you hit that follow button?
Probably not.
Exactly. You got to look the part.
Like showing up to a gig in your pajamas.
Exactly. And speaking of showing up, consistency is so important.
Okay.
The articles highlight artists who are constantly releasing new stuff, remixes, behind-the-scenes content. You name it.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah. Keeps the fans engaged and tells those streaming algorithms that you're serious.
It's like you're giving people a reason to stick around.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just about the music itself anymore. It's the whole package.
You're talking merch, right?
Merch is huge.
Spill the tea.
It's a way for fans to buy into your music, your style, your whole vibe.
Yeah.
And it's easier than ever to get started.
Really?
Remember those boxes of dusty band t-shirts in your parents' basement?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those days are over.
One of the articles mentioned these print-on-demand services.
Game changer.
What is that?
Platforms like Teespring or Printful handle everything.
Oh, wow.
You create the design, someone orders it, they make it and ship it.
That's amazing.
No more stockpiles of merch.
So you're telling me I don't need a garage full of I Heart Indie Music t-shirts to start selling merch?
Nope. And it's not just t-shirts either.
Oh, cool.
Limited edition vinyl signed posters, even phone cases, tote bags, you name it.
Wow.
It's about giving fans something unique and exciting.
I like it. Like those limited edition sneaker drops that get everyone hyped.
Exactly. Create that buzz.
Speaking of hype, what about crowdfunding?
Oh, yeah.
That seems to be a popular way for indie artists to fund their projects these days.
It's more than just raising money, though.
Okay.
It's about building a community that really believes in your music.
Oh, I see.
Platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, they let fans become part of the journey from the ground up.
So it's almost like they're investors in your art.
Exactly. They're putting their money where their ears are.
Yeah.
That kind of support can be a game changer for a new artist. One musician even talked about how crowdfunding their album helped them connect with fans on a deeper level.
That's awesome.
Even collaborate with some of them on the creative process.
Wow, that's incredible. But how do they make it sustainable?
Hmm.
We talked about merch, crowdfunding campaigns. Those are one-time things.
Right.
How do indie musicians create an income that's more consistent?
That's where platforms like Patreon come in.
Patreon.
All about building a dedicated fan base that supports you in an ongoing way.
Okay, but we're going to dive into all the details of Patreon a bit later.
Right. Save the best for last.
So far, we've covered streaming strategies, merch, magic, the power of crowdfunding.
It's a lot.
What other tricks do these indie musicians have up their sleeves?
Well, one thing that stood out was the power of live gigs.
Yeah.
connecting with fans in real time.
Right.
It's not just about the music. It's the energy, the shared experience, you know?
Totally. There's nothing quite like the feeling of a live show.
Exactly.
But with everything going digital these days, are virtual concerts still a thing?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Really?
In fact, they've become huge, especially for artists who are just starting out.
Okay.
One article mentioned a musician who used to spend a ton of money on touring.
Right.
Now they just host virtual shows every month from their home studio.
Wow.
They can reach a global audience without ever leaving home.
That's amazing. No more expensive flights, no venue hassles.
Exactly. Plus, the technology is always getting better.
Oh, yeah, true.
You can chat with fans live, take song requests, even do virtual meet and greets.
Wow, that's so cool. Creates a whole new level of intimacy.
Totally. And let's not forget about merch sales. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. Whether it's a live show or virtual.
Right. You got to capitalize on that fan excitement.
Makes those t-shirts and stuff into souvenirs.
Exactly. Creates a lasting memory of the experience. Okay, ready to switch gears for a sec.
Okay, hit me.
Let's talk about licensing and sync deals.
Oh, yeah, getting your music in movies, TV shows, video games.
That's the dream for a lot of musicians.
It's not just about the glamour either, right?
Right. It can be a huge financial boost for indie artists.
Yeah, one article mentioned an artist who got their song on a popular mobile game.
Oh, yeah.
Their streams just blew up.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just big budget stuff anymore.
What do you mean?
Indie films, documentaries, online ads, all sorts of projects need music.
Oh, that's true.
One article even suggested that musicians should make instrumental versions of their songs specifically for licensing. Well, sometimes a scene needs music, but they don't want lyrics in the way.
Oh, I see.
Having those instrumental tracks ready to go opens up a ton of opportunities.
So it's like having multiple versions of your music is a good strategy.
Exactly. The more options you have, the better your chances of finding the perfect fit.
This is all so helpful, I have to admit, with all these different strategies. It seems kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle.
Like you have to be a musician, a marketer, a salesperson, and a financial expert all at the same time.
You got it. That's where the entrepreneurial spirit comes in.
That's like running your own mini business.
Basically. Which brings us back to Patreon.
Oh, yeah, right?
Remember we talked about creating a sustainable income?
Yes. Fill me in on how that works.
So Patreon is all about building a community of super fans. They support you directly through monthly memberships.
So it's like a subscription service, but for your music.
Exactly. Musicians usually offer different membership tiers
Oh, interesting.
with different perks and rewards depending on how much you pay.
Cool. What kind of rewards are we talking about?
It could be anything, really. Exclusive behind-the-scenes content, early access to new music, personalized songwriting feedback, you name it.
Wow. So it's like a VIP experience for your biggest fans?
Totally. It's about fostering that two-way street of support and appreciation.
Makes them feel like they're part of the journey.
Exactly. And it gives artists a more stable income stream.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Instead of relying on just album sales or streaming revenue.
Right. Those can be unpredictable.
For sure. That kind of stability must be a game changer for indie artists.
It really is.
Yes.
It takes the pressure off so they can focus on making amazing music.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
It's pretty inspiring to see how these musicians are like building their own little empires.
Totally.
No more waiting around for someone to give them a shot. They're making their own opportunities.
It's like that old saying, the music industry is 90% business and 10% talent.
Oof. That's kind of harsh, but I get what you mean.
Right.
These articles really show how important it is to be smart about the business side of things.
Absolutely. You could be the most talented musician in the world.
Right.
But if you aren't out there promoting yourself, connecting with fans, exploring different ways to make money,
Yeah.
you're going to have a tough time.
It's like writing an amazing song and then just leaving it in a drawer somewhere.
Exactly. What a waste.
Speaking of getting your music out there, one thing that stood out to me was how important social media still is.
Oh, for sure.
Even with all these new strategies.
It's like the modern day equivalent of putting up flyers around town.
True.
Building that online presence, engaging with your followers, collaborating with other artists is all part of the game.
So after going through all these articles, what would you say is the biggest takeaway for indie musicians?
That's a good question.
What's the most important thing for them to know?
I think it comes down to this. Being an independent musician today is about so much more than just the music itself.
Okay.
It's about creating a whole universe around what you do.
I like that.
Understanding your audience, building a unique brand, and always adapting to how things are changing online.
It's like they have to become entrepreneurs as much as musicians.
Exactly. It takes guts and a lot of hard work, but the rewards can be incredible.
For sure, both creatively and financially.
Absolutely.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
It feels like the future of music is really in the hands of the artists now.
It really does.
Yeah,
And that's super exciting.
it is. So to all you music makers out there, keep chasing those dreams, keep experimenting, and keep sharing your sound with the world. You never know who's listening.
I couldn't have said it better myself.